Everyone, and welcome to part 6 and the final chapter in the series of tutorials on how to build, paint and weather the interior of a Stug III Ausf D. So with all the varnishes now dry, what we're going to do is move on to the oil work, and to set a base for all the oils we're going to add a filter. I make my own filters, and it's just a simple matter of putting 1 part oil to 9 parts thinner, and it's just basically dirty thinner really. And what you want to do is to apply that to the area in broad strokes, very carefully, and making sure that none of the filter pools in any areas. So for this particular build, I'll be using raw umber for all of the lighter areas. For the lower hull, darker areas, I'll be using warm sepia. And finally, for the flooring, I'll be using burnt umber. So with the filters perfectly dry now, what we want to do is to start creating some depth, realism and interest to the inside of the Stug. And what we're going to do is start doing some oil work. Get yourself a simple palette, like a piece of cardboard. As you can see here from the staining, this is where the linseed oil has soaked into the cardboard, and that means that the oils will dry a lot quicker on the model. As far as the oils that you want to use, my highest recommendation is to get quality oils. Don't get any cheap ones, because they would affect the look on the model. I try and stick with ones like Winsor and Newton, but there are several decent ones out there on the marketplace. So what we're going to do first is to build up layers. So first of all, we're going to be using burnt umber, which is basically a light brown type colour. And what we want to do is to put that all the way along the shadowed areas, and that will be our first basis point as far as the shading work goes. So what we need to have is some thinner. I just use standard artist thinner, and what we want to be looking at doing is applying the oil as in the consistency of something like a wash. So very difficult to do on camera, but let's try and see what we can achieve here. There we go. And then we just want to go around where any sort of dark areas would be, around by the struts here, anything where there would be some sort of shading. And once you've applied that, get yourself a blending brush, and make sure that it is dry, and then it's just a matter of simply blending that in. And there we have our first base, for which we can now add a bit more detail. And once you've completed the first base of oil work, what we want to do is just to add some splatters, just to start again building up layers of interest. And we want to water down the oil as much as possible so that it produces a light splatter. And then just using the back of your craft knife, very simply, we can add the splatter marks there, which hopefully you can see. If there's any that you don't like, then it's just a matter of using some thinner, and you can get rid of that. So what we'll do now is we'll put the hair dryer on that, and then we'll come back and do another layer. So with that now dry, we're going to add the next layer, which is raw umber, which is basically dirt. And what we want to do this time is to actually try and do a pin wash. Again, very difficult at arm's length. Just try and improve the consistency. I'll do my own washes. It's just a matter of getting enough of the terps or the thinner on your palette and creating the consistency that you require. There we go. And again, get the blending brush and just really just tidy it up this time rather than actually blending it in, because we want to try and keep that colour like so. And then again, add some splatter marks, and then we'll get the hairdryer onto that again. And then finally what we'll do is add on a pin wash, which will be warm sepia. Leave that to dry for about 15 minutes or so, and then once done, just tidy it up as normal, and that will create the detail to be able to pop out and you can see more clearly. The warm sepia, or if you want just sepia, is pretty much brown black, and this is ideal for using in the depths of the hull. I wouldn't use it anywhere else. What you need to do is to try and use this process as a basis for the whole of the model, but don't use all 3 or 4 steps on each particular part, because otherwise it will lose interest, because it will be quite bland looking. So what you want to do is to break up the processes and the colours. If I just bring this one over here, this is obviously the gun section. As you can see at the bottom, it's a lot darker, and as I've worked my way around up to the top, it's a lot lighter. So along the bottom I've used 3 colours, and then in the middle a couple of colours, and then just on the top it's the 1 colour. So you get a bit of variety, as well as the depth of the colours, and that's the sort of look that I'm after. And once this is all fully dry, we'll do a little bit of lighting work, a bit of dry brushing, just to finish it off. But that's what you're aiming to look for. So with all the oil work finished, all that's left now to do is the pigment work. However, that won't be done until all the parts have been put back in their places. So let's just go through a couple of last minute detailing. You may not be able to see it too well here, but I have done some extensive photos where you'll be able to see it better. But on the edges where there's the most wear, I've used an HB pencil just to add some metallic work. But yeah, that's the hull done there. The upper hull again is all complete. The actual visors down here in the corner. The outside still has the tape on, so not exactly clear at the moment. What I will do once the model is complete, I'll actually tint these windows. There's a lot of discussion around what colour tint you should use for German vehicles, whether it's blue, green or black. I personally use a watered down black glaze just to tint the windows, so they'll look nice once finished. But other than that, that's all the upper hull now complete. Again, you'll be able to see it in better detail with the still pictures. We'll just run through a couple of the smaller parts. On the dials here, I used a 2-part transparent epoxy resin. It's a little bit cloudy in places. That was my mistake. I didn't stir it and mix it well enough, so lesson learnt there. But apart from that, that certainly is a nice effect. And then looking at the transmission and the brake gearbox section, that's all complete now as well. And then we have the small parts with the ammo bin here. The seats, they were given additional washes with buff oils just to improve the leatherwork, but really pleased with how they've turned out. The foot plate with the driving sticks again had the HB pencil work on them as well, and the drums, they were just weathered with the normal oils. Yeah, so altogether this now needs all to be put back together, and as I put this items back in, each individual stage I'll add some pigment work until the whole is built up entirely. So what I'll do, I'll leave you now with some stills of the build as it is now and the progress shots of it all being put back together. So with the project now complete, it's time to do the final reveal. As you can see, the telescopic sights haven't been attached, basically because the rest of the model has to be built, so everything will be masked off. But these will obviously be added once the final model has been completed. So if we take the lid off, as you can see, this was also detailed underneath. And that now gives you the bird's eye view of the inside. As you can see, the empty shell casings at the bottom. inside you see some binoculars on top of the commander's seat. And I also added some aftermarket oak leaves and some more pigments on the floor. So let's go down and have a closer look. So at the front of the lower hull, there's sufficient detail in there. If you were to get a light source, you'll be able to see a lot more. But I'm very happy with how that's turned out. So coming up to the main gun breech, this will all be covered over once the main front part of the gun is added. If we have a look at the side pod with the radio in it, you can see there's some headphones that were made from parts out of this spares box, and also Scratch built a little mug at the back there, and that's all sitting on top of a map. And then if we look down to the driver's area, you can see there's a little water canister hanging off the visors. So there we go, the end of a very enjoyable build. This is very much a model within a model. So I'd just like to thank you for your continued subscriptions to my channel and your support of my work, and hopefully these tutorials will inspire you to have a go at this project yourselves. Happy modelling, everyone.